Here we go. Okay, well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure for us to be here today. Normally it's me saying a pleasure for me to be here, but it's us today. So I'm really, really thrilled that Kim and I are doing this together today. We've got an interesting subject, a different subject today, but one that I think has been glossed over far too much in Nikken. As we look at the statistics of what Nikken is made up of by way of people, almost 80% of our field base is women. That's a large chunk of the business. At the same time, we also know that over 90% of Nikken consultants, and network marketers for that matter, build the business part-time. Meaning, as we look at Nikken, the vast majority of our audience, our network, is women. Most of them are doing Nikken amongst a whole host of other things. Full-time employment, part-time employment, being a wife, being a mother, being a homemaker, all of these different things, being a servant in the community. They're doing all of this and they're doing Nikken. So with that being said, I thought it would be fantastic to pull Kim on today, one of our wonderful raw diamonds, and let's discuss this subject a little bit of how to get that right. So I want to ask you, we're going to do this in a little bit of a Q&A today, I think. So I'm going to ask the questions and Kim's going to give the wisdom and insight. So as you look at your life, Kim, running a business, running your home, having 7 kids, serving in the community, and of course, nurturing a marriage with a very complex person like me as your husband, how do you manage all those different roles?
Well, I'll share my thoughts, not necessarily my wisdom, but my thoughts on how I make that work. And it doesn't work for everyone, but it's how I make it work. Life is busy. It's going to be busy for all of us for many different reasons. Some of us have children, some of us don't. Some of us have elderly relatives living with us. There's lots of different responsibilities that we have to perform on a day-to-day basis, and it's easy to get overwhelmed by that with so much to be done. I tend to just live my time day to day, sometime hour to hour, and just trying to get a balance because we have so many things pulling on us. It's all about getting that balance.
Oh, balance is a big word in Nikken. So how would you get that balance with so many different things pulling your way? What are some things that you do to establish balance?
I think you have to be flexible. I've learned, especially with children, you have to be flexible. Some things you can set in stone, but some things you can't. You have to go with the flow. I try to define myself sometimes a bit like a rubber band that's quite tight when it begins out, and then as it stretches and pulls in different directions throughout the day, you might find yourself all over the place, but at the end of the day you kind of come back to where you're facing and continue to move forward, because there's always going to be things that come in our path as well. Sometimes I don't know whether you've ever seen those jugglers in general. It's amazing. They can juggle so many balls. They're throwing them up in the air, and they seem to be moving their arms so slow as they do it, and the balls just beautifully fall into their hands, and then they throw another ball up. Sometimes I think as a mother, especially now that I'm more involved with the business and I'm finding my own way through playing both roles, that I'm throwing the balls in the air, and I'm quite frantic at times, and they're thrown in the air, and sometimes they drop, and that's okay. I'll just pick it back up and throw it right back up in the air. It's not graceful, it's not elegant, but it works. It works. The balls go up in the air, the balls come down, they throw them back up, come back down. Sometimes they drop, and I'll pick it up and throw it back up in the air, and that's okay. I don't have to look graceful in all of those roles and responsibilities that I'm doing. As long as the balls are all going up and then come back down and going up and come back down on a regular basis, then that's okay. I'm okay with that.
I like what you said there, that sometimes it's not always graceful with all the balls up in the air, but I like that phrase, and that's okay. Some people don't feel that that's okay. They want it to be graceful. They want everything to look pristine. They want everything to be the way the media kind of represents everything. Is that realistic?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, I think the world tells us, society tells us that as women, and sorry, I'm taking a minute here to just speak about women,
Yeah.
but as women, that we are entitled to have it all. And that's good. We are entitled to have many things. But what I've come to realize is that it's not realistic to have it all and do it all well without something giving or something being diluted. I have this diagram, which I don't know if we have a piece of paper that I could share. It's a piece of paper that I totally live by, and I think as women we're always choosing which way we're gonna turn that way and what's going to be our priority that day. I'm sure some of you've seen it, but let me just show you this. So it's just a triangle with 3 different circles on, and each day we have different things that pull on us. And for instance, I'm just writing down here, one of those dots for me on a regular basis is a clean house. Another one is happy children. And then, so I've got a clean house and a happy child. And on this one in the corner, let me show you what this one often is. My sanity. So each day I have to choose. It's like, choose 2 things on this list. This is your day. Choose 2 things. You can have your sanity and a happy child, but your house is going to be a mess. Or you can have a clean house and your sanity, but your child's going to be happy. Not going to be happy. And so I feel as women, we're constantly having to make these decisions on a day-to-day basis, sometimes on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis, year-to-year basis, as to what we're going to put our focus on. The world will tell us we can have it all, but it's not realistic to have it at all. And they also tell us if we don't have it all, then somehow we're failing. But we're not. We're just doing what is realistic and what will make us happy. And I've come to the settled state where I'm okay not having it all from what the world tells me I should have. I'm okay in my all, what I feel is important to me. Some things are more important than others, and that's my all. So that's
yeah. So some might look at you though and think that you do have it all.
Yeah, it's not true, is it? I mean, it's very easy to see an outward appearance of someone who I don't know. I mean, for instance, if I stood up right now, you'd see that I'm wearing tracksuit, pajama type trousers because I've been painting all day. I've got paint on my hands.
You'll note that my hands are clean.
His hands are perfectly clean.
I have not been painting.
But it's so easy to look at someone else's life and say they do it all right, they've got it all together. It's not true. Anyone who appears that way, that's all it is. It's an appearance. But what I find in most people is that when they do have it all, genuinely have it all together, it's because they've accepted the fact that they're never going to be able to have everything perfect. And once you've accepted that fact, there's this wonderful peace that comes into someone's life, and they seem very. People often say to me, with all my kids running around like crazy, well, first of all, they say, "Are they all yours?" That's the first response that I get. But secondly, they say they're so well behaved. You know that you don't get frazzled with them. And of course I do. I get frazzled at times, and in those times, we're all going to have times where we get overwhelmed. We just need to take a time out where we can just, eat lots of chocolate, and I'd say probably drink lots of alcohol, but I don't drink. No, maybe just have some time out to ourselves where we can go away and then come back refreshed and renewed and pick it up. And sometimes for me, that's a 30-minute drive to the supermarket where I can pick up some milk and,
do it without the kids.
Do it without the kids, without Ben.
Without me.
and just have that time out. But we all need that, both men and women. We all need that time out. So
amongst the chaos, or what I've often referred to in the past, the whirlwind of the day job, which in today's age becomes life. Life is a bit of a whirlwind. Taking time out, even if it's just a few minutes a day, in a day.
Yeah.
helps to just maintain some composure?
I think so. I mean, you think ideally it would be nice to be away for a weekend or even away for a night. But for me, I can literally take 30 minutes, an hour, and be away and just get my head organized, get it straight, because it's life is hard for most people, and we have so many things going on, and we need to be able to also nurture ourselves. It's very difficult to nurture other people, be that our family members, be that people that we're working with, if we're not taking time out to also nurture ourselves and strengthen ourselves.
That's a huge part. So let's put this now into one of the other roles. Let's put this into a business context. You've referenced here in the juggling of all the different roles and need to be flexible. I like that example you gave of the rubber band. How do you ensure flexibility without getting off track? Because it's very easy, isn't it, when we've got all these different roles and all these different things pulling at us, using that rubber band analogy, to be pulled in one direction long enough that just becomes our norm, when in fact we're needing to be in that direction. How do you allow for flexibility but still stay focused?
Well, I think it's all to do with short-term goals, long-term goals, and we all have these goals that we want to reach at the very end. And I have those goals that I want to reach at the very end. It's the thing that drives me. It's my inner core that drives me. And for me, it'd be very difficult to move away from that so far that I couldn't keep coming back to it. But what's that quote that you often say about the path?
I may not have walked the straight and narrow path, but I crossed it as many times as I could.
And I like that, because I think that's so true. We're just we're on our journey here. We're on our path. We want to achieve certain goals, and we have the goals at the end. And every now and again, we might find ourselves walking across the path, but we will get to that end goal. And as long as we are constantly coming back to our ultimate goals, then it's okay to have moments where we deviate, because as women with families and work-life balance, we are going to have those moments, and if we don't adjust and are flexible to them, then we will break. A bit like a tree being swayed in the wind, or a building that's built for earthquakes. It's built to sway and move a little. If it's too static, it would just crumble. And as women, we're so resilient. We're able to move and go with the flow a lot, and I think we also put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be perfect, and I think the world puts pressure on us to be perfect, like I said, and to have everything. What we need to be happy with, what our everything is, not what the world tells us is their everything and what's important.
So looking at a Nikken consultant, for example, someone that's trying to balance all these different things, wanting to have it all, feeling frantic, feeling the strain, trying to do all these different things, juggling, what counsel would you give them to try to feel a sense of achievement but not be overwhelmed with everything?
That's a hard question. I think we need to celebrate our achievements. When we have our goals, and we have our long-term goals, and we have our short-term goals, we need to make sure that we're celebrating those short-term goals and rewarding ourselves with something when we've achieved what we want to achieve. And that can be many different things. I'm new on this journey with Nikken, so I'm kind of just learning, and I'm sure there's so much that you can teach me in the process. But I'm just trying to fit it all around such a busy life, and not allowing myself to get too overwhelmed by everything. Because once you get too overwhelmed, like that principle I said, if we can't move slightly, then we will just crack. So celebrate the small victories, not just the big ones. So often we can say, we failed because we didn't reach that level that we wanted to reach, but we need to also recognize, as long as there's improvement and there's moving forward, as long as we're always moving forward, then we should be happy and celebrating where we're at. I mean, of course, it's wonderful when we jump, 5 paces ahead of where we were expecting. That's wonderful, and we should celebrate that too. But when we don't, then we should just take that and say, you know what, we are doing our very best, and that's all we can do is our very best. We can't have so much pressure on us saying that our best is never good enough. because our best is our best. And
as I look at some of the comments here, Molly Simpson has said something really interesting as well. She said, I've noticed when I do the most important things first, I am happier, and everything that truly needs to be done gets done, and the less important stuff falls away or takes care of itself.
I like that. It does filter itself out of what's really important.
Yeah. So learning to recognize the things that matter most.
Yeah. Learn
to get balance. Learn that juggling with a sense of frenetic kind of craziness is okay from time to time.
It's okay to be crazy. And, you know, one of my favorite things to say that I heard, you know, the serenity prayer, which we all know, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And if we can get that balance, then we will have a huge chunk of unnecessary things that can be taken out of our lives that we don't need to spend time on. Because there's things that we can change, things that we can't change. And once we know the difference, great wisdom will be there. And
Kristen here is saying wisdom is key. One thing that Kim has always said to me, that wisdom is knowledge correctly applied. You know, it's not just knowing the truth, it's correctly applying it. And I think correctly applying it takes practice. And
making mistakes, and that's totally fine. It takes practice, and like I said, if the balls are dropping around you, it's okay. What's wrong with letting the ball, if the ball drops, you can pick it up and you can throw it back up. And it's okay if the balls are not elegant and they're all being thrown up, you know. This is our balance.
He's just come in.
We're trying to do this, but we also have children walking in and making lots of noise, and you know what, you just got to roll with that. That's just life. It's never going to be perfect. It might have days or moments where it's perfect, but generally it's not so perfect.
I want to ask a question here. You know, we've got a good number of people on the call, really good number of people on the call, and I know that a lot of them are female representatives of Nikken. I want to ask you a question. You can perhaps type this in the chat. Like I said at the beginning of the call, we've not had this kind of discussion much in Nikken platforms, where we talk about juggling many roles, having many hats to wear, and the demands that it has on women, and the emotional response that women can have to all of these expectations and messages, definitely from the world. Is this, as we look at Orlando being just around the corner, coming up in April, would this be a subject that you feel would be relevant to discuss at the Orlando event? Is this something that you feel, amongst the other skill sets that we talk about, you know, how to recruit more people, how to, you know, build your audience, learn how to recognize your team members, but also as a woman in the business, how to get balance in all the different roles you play? I'm getting an awful lot of yeses coming up here on this. Definitely. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, this is what we're going to do. This was, I think this is an important subject as well. And I felt really honored today to be able to introduce my wife on this call and have this subject discussed. A lot of people, yeah, thank you, Rachel. This is very important. Christmas was not only a day. Saying that Christmas was not only a day. Not if you're the woman in the household with the family. That is very true, Rachel. It can be for the blokes, but it's a season and a long period of time when it comes to the women in the home. That's right. So what I'd like to do is let people know today that when we come to Orlando, this is going to be a theme that gets addressed because it seems to resonate with a lot of people.
I like the comment there too. You know, even if you're not the front person of the business, you're often a supporter in the business, and it's important to know where we can fit and where we can help in those roles too.
Do you want to tell people a little bit? That's a good point. And one thing that I've always said is that my career has been our career.
Yeah, and I've always felt that too. I've never felt that this is Ben's job or Ben's role. Of course, we've had roles that have worked for us, where he's the main person going to work and I'm the main person at home. But we've always discussed everything, and it's always been our career, and we've made sure the two have merged. And so I've always felt very involved with everything that Ben do. I can tell you all the people that he works with, all the names. I know you all. I can tell you all a little bit about yourselves because I know everyone's name. I might be new coming into Nikken, but since Ben started with Nikken many years ago, I've heard the names, I've heard the stories, I've heard the terrible things. I'm just kidding. I've heard all the good things. And so, you know, very often when we're at events, Ben will say, you know, that's so-and-so, that's, and okay, so it's good. And I feel like I know you all, because we've always had that merging of roles.
John, we've got just a couple more minutes. So as you look at how we do things now, do you want to tell people a little bit about how...
Single mum stories. Someone just put single mum stories. I think that's really important too. And Ben and I were talking about that today. And for some women, they managing a household, a family, and a business. And I have so much respect for anyone that is juggling all of those balls, because there's always going to be pressure on us, regardless. And having I think that would be, I would personally like to see that discussed more in Orlando as well. I'd like that to be a topic of how a single mum fits all of that in without going insane.
Yeah, excellent.
And being able to reach the goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important. Do you want to discuss, we're in an environment here where there's a husband and a wife and we work together, but we do play very different roles. And do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because there are certain things, and those that work closely with me will know this anyway. And certain weaknesses that I have, like time management, detail, DIY. But there are certain things that I'm not very good at that you are, and things that I'm good at, you're kind of good at them too. So,
I've got to wait for the list of things.
Hang on a sec. So, but how do you want to talk just really briefly on how we kind of work together?
Well, I think we've been able to. It's taken a while. It didn't happen instantly. To see each other's strengths and weaknesses, and made sure that they accommodate each other. But also, I think sometimes it's important to. Well, we communicate a lot about these things. But it's important sometimes if something is a weakness that we can try and make it a strength before we just write it off. Don't you think? I've tried to get him doing DIY.
I like to hot potato it. It's always going to be a weakness. You do it.
But yeah, no, I think it's all about choice, isn't it, and sacrifice. And you know, people might say, you know, I've got it all because I have a husband here and who's helpful. You know, he's a wonderful husband, a wonderful father. But I've made lots of sacrifices in order for us to have the setup that we have. You know, I've stayed at home with the children, which I've loved to do, and it's wonderful now that I'm able to get more involved in the business, and I'm very grateful to do that, and it works. Yeah,
excellent. The final point here, that just quoting what Rachel said here, Rachel Dent said, when I began this as a single mum, I sought out other mums who wanted to create their own income, and we created, as a result of that, we created a team that worked together.
I like that, a support network.
Yeah, so that's a good way to work together as well, isn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this call today. I hope you found it helpful. At least, hopefully, you found it entertaining as well. But it seems to me that this is definitely a subject that people want to hear more of. And I do, again, I think that point about single mums working the business, and also showing how couples can work effectively together. Sounds like it could be a really good message for us to address in further detail in Orlando, and of course, perhaps more so on some of these weekly calls as well. Definitely relevant when we look at 80% of Nikken being women. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much. Any last comments from you, Kim?
No, I think I've said enough.
Excellent.
I'm just reading all the comments. It's wonderful to see
what lots of good comments coming through here. So, okay, everyone, thank you very much for being with us. Please, of course, share this. We'll get it posted online very shortly. So look out for this, and then, of course, please share it with your teams. And don't forget, Orlando, 27th to the 30th of April, we'll talk far more about how to work this business as a single mum, as a stay-at-home mum, as a working mum, as a couple, you name it. I think this is a really important message to champion. So we love you all, and we'll speak to you real soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.